Hello and welcome to Shipreneur with BC One Africa Business Radio, the only show that spotlights African women succeeding in their craft with a view to understanding their processes and celebrating their ingenuity. So, welcome to the show. On Beyond the Mind today, we continue the conversation on anger and ways to manage anger issues. Having established the meaning of anger by different experts, let us look at some common triggers of anger. Some people would say grief, sadness, rudeness, poor interpersonal skills, tiredness, hunger, injustice, and so on. However, we tend to blame external circumstances for the way we respond to situations and not take responsibility for our behavior. We also assume that perception is reality and so respond to situations from the way we understand it and not the way it truly is. When experts say there are triggers to anger, I beg to differ, because that will be trying to solve the issue from the top and not finding the root cause of anger in a human being as a negative emotion. To really solve the issue of anger and every other emotion, one needs to be aware of their emotion, which entails paying attention to your thoughts, feelings, and behavior. Before that anger outburst, what did you see or hear? What did you think? How did you feel? Can you remember the beginning of the events that led to the final outburst? When we begin to emotionally be aware of what we feel at the time we are feeling it, we may find that our anger is deeper than the situation that just happened. And that is when we are ready to solve our anger issues. I am the Waker and my name is BC Ubo. I'll be right back after this break. Stay with us. Welcome back to the Shiro segment. You're still listening to Shipreneur with BC One Africa Business Radio. And this is my favorite segment of the show where I go one-on-one with the Shiro of the day. And today, we have a strength-based business strategy consultant and the managing partner at Hillbridge Consulting. She provides consulting and advisory services to visionary entrepreneurs and helps businesses develop superior strategies to increase their revenues and profits. Welcome with me, the bridge builder, Ella Georgiadoko. How you doing, girl?
I'm well. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for coming on the show. So today we'll be talking about developing superior strategies for business growth. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I know that you had your first degree in management information system. Why did you decide to help businesses grow?
I didn't decide.
Okay.
So what happened was I started off right out of NYSC working in the banking sector. So I started in public sector and then moved to corporate banking and then retail banking. Mm. And there was just something I realized. I would, go in, talk with a customer. We'll talk about banking and our banking, solutions. And somehow in the course of a conversation, because a number of them ran their own businesses, either full-time or on the side. And they would just randomly complain about something. And because I come from a family of entrepreneurs, merchants, we didn't have career people like that, except the teachers.
Okay.
So because, I'd pick 1, 2, 3 things along the way, plus I enjoy reading, I'd just throw out what I thought was a simple recommendation and say, you could do this.
You could try this.
And after, weeks, months, come. Emanuela, that thing you told me.
It worked.
And I thought, I'm like, Jesus, are you trying to tell me something? So when this happened, over time you start to figure that this isn't a mistake. Maybe there's something there. So I started toying with the idea of going into consulting. But then this background of mine wouldn't really allow me to do anything. Plus in banking, it's not like you were prepared for the world of business. So the option I had then was to then do an MBA and put my foot in the consulting door. So that was really how it wasn't like
started.
something I
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Awesome. So you found your calling, if I may use that word.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because some people get some of these signs and they still don't move.
Yes.
They just stay
True.
where they're comfortable just earning the salary.
True.
Yeah. So in your years of consulting for businesses, what are some of the mistakes that you've seen businesses make that we can learn from?
Because I work with smaller businesses, the one I find pretty often is people just thinking they can fix this by themselves and doing all they can and working harder and harder. And entrepreneurs are some of the hardest working people on earth.
We work hard.
Seriously.
I know.
You know, so there are times when there is an issue and it's lingering, and for some reason we get busy with the other things. And that issue that is lingering, we keep, okay, somehow we'll fix it. So not reaching out for help earlier, you know, at the time when they observe that it's a mistake that has driven so many into the ground. I mean, I live in Lagos now, you go by malls, you're seeing stores shutting down all the time.
And
Businesses
I'm
are
wondering
starting
what's
and
happening.
stopping. When they start, there's this, you know, passion,
Zeal.
in some cases the finance is there, everything, and you think you're going to conquer the world, you know, and then you do all that preparation and the market just hits your gut.
Hey.
You know, sometimes it's the market, customers are not appreciating what you have to offer. Other times it's the staff, you know, employees that you have somehow are just not on the same page. It could be anything really, but not getting help early is the biggest issue that I see.
So how do you know when to seek for help as an entrepreneur?
You know, before you go to bed at night, oftentimes the brain would replay things. And there are cases when you replay issues, and at that time, in your downtime, moment alone, some solutions come to you and you figure, this is what I should have done instead. Or sometimes it's a bit of, you know, regret. Instead of doing this, I really should have done that. Sometimes it's in the moment, sometimes it's at night. Now, when there are lingering issues that you think about and you are at your wit's end, I don't know what else to do about this. At that point, it really is time to seek help. And this help mustn't always be, you know, getting a consultant. Sometimes it really is just talking to another business person. It's getting into another group, just hearing someone else's opinion. If you have a mentor, you know, even sometimes you have older people who run much smaller businesses but have run it over years. They've got a lot
Of experience
to teach you, you know. But just speaking out and asking somebody, what do you think about this, instead of internalizing. And I see this mostly among the really intelligent entrepreneurs, right? Because they're very smart, and through life they've learned to figure things out on them by themselves. They just continue with that pattern. So it's time to seek help when you think and you can't, and you're just feeling stuck. You know you should be doing better. You look at people that you have advised in the past,
doing well,
and those people are doing better. People that you have, you know, those that served as apprentices under you, people you coached, everybody, like, what's wrong? No, it's not spiritual. You've just come to, you know, your cap, and we all get there.
and then you need help to upscale, move forward.
Yes.
So how do you think businesses can achieve high level performance?
That answer will be different. This is typical consultant answer, right?
Yeah.
It depends.
Give us small. We know. We pay a common. Give us small. Give my audience.
Funny enough, it's just, you know, because we're all so different. And so high level performance, first of all, has to be something that you desire. In our space, a lot of people are good with just basic, mediocre results. Like, let me just be able to feed and pay I don't want much.
And survive.
I'm not greedy. You know, I don't want much. I don't need a house in, you know, London and Banana Island. No, you know. And sometimes it's not really the truth. You know,
they just don't know how to get it.
But that's another conversation. Plus, that's because you're not seeing your own success as an avenue to bless and help other people succeed. So sometimes it's a myopic view, but let's not even get into that, right? So high level performance, first of all, has to be because you desire it. And then the next thing is to ask how. Sometimes we are the cap, you know, a lot of times we are the cap. And so you've built this organization with the little knowledge that you have. You've picked a few things from books, but then you got too busy to continue reading, and then you bought a few courses, but then you were too busy to attend, the courses. So you are really the cap. And of course you can't perform when, beyond your own capacity or capability.
Beyond what you know.
Yes, you can. So it starts with the desire to do better, and then you up-leveling, upgrading your own self, your own capacity, and then people, right? The people who work in the organization. This is another area where the big corporations really outrun us. Because many times we slow ourselves down with getting in talent because we think it's expensive.
We can't
We
pay.
think, yes, we give ourselves all these reasons and don't even try. We don't even try. And so you invest 100 million into setting up this wonderful structure. Everything is beautiful, but then you're looking for staff. You're going to pay 30,000 naira a month.
Hi.
But it's the reality now. You know what I mean.
We know.
It just sounded,
Yeah,
when you hear it that way.
I had to play back in my head.
When you
Wow.
hear, but that's what happens. So how then can you, deliver that? So the people are really important. And then of course you need to have a plan for how to bring this all together. Again, so many times in this environment, we're just winging it. The hustle culture. Let's just go.
Let's get by.
Let's just go. And this coronavirus, pandemic, whatever. I think it really exposed, how we think and how we do things, because it was so tough for people to sit, for people to sit and re-strategize, figure out what next. For a lot of people, there was this knee-jerk reaction. Okay, next thing we're doing
face mask
business. Let's go in. Let's just jump into this. There was no thoughts. There was no, okay, how do we? So that planning, which a lot of us skip, is really important. There's so many things, but
I like this. I like where this is going. But so what do you advise an entrepreneur on how to get people that work for them? So when you're starting a business, most of the time you do everything yourself because you're trying to cut down costs. So you are your logistics, you are your accounting manager, you are your everything. At what point do you think it's okay to bring in experts, no matter how little, in those areas, so that you get value for what you're doing?
So I'm going to start that question by clarifying that I'm responding to entrepreneurs.
Yes,
because
entrepreneurs.
They are business owners, and there's a difference. There are people who are just, if you're doing the same thing everybody's doing, you really are not an entrepreneur, right? If you're doing this thing just to get by, holding the fort till something else comes, you're really, in
Not
the
an
real sense,
entrepreneur.
are not an entrepreneur.
Okay.
Entrepreneurs typically have something that they're aiming for, something they're trying to achieve, something they're trying to change, something they're trying to fix, and so their eyes are usually up there trying to figure, which also means you are listening very closely to what customers want and what they don't, regardless of what you think they want or need. Because many times we project our own, like, this is good, this was good for me,
It's good
like
for
it
me, it
makes
should be good
sense.
for you.
So it really is looking at things from that is my biggest advice. Look at things from the customer's perspective, and that should then guide you. So if you're looking from the customer's perspective and can figure out the things that are either turning them off or not attracting them to you, or the message is not connecting. One way could be any way, your, production, the quality of things you produce. It could be your packaging. It could be your branding. It could be the way you communicate, right? Depending on who you're trying to reach, you can then start to see where the loopholes are. I usually recommend that people debrief as often as every day, every weekend. Just ask the basic questions. What worked well? What didn't we do well? Where did we fail? What could we have done better? And reflective questions like that open you up to what could be better. And then when you realize what could be better, of course, the first thing to do is try to fix it yourself, you and your team. And when you say that, look, we've been on this mountain for too long. At that point, it makes sense to start to, thankfully, for a lot of help that is out there, whether it's through coaches, consultants, mentors, whatever, the help out there typically comes with some form of engagement to allow you access if this is the right thing for you. or if this is the right person. Yes. And I think, anyone who just takes it to that process is much, much closer to getting the level of, accomplishment or results that they want to see.
Quite deep. I'm an entrepreneur, so I'm learning a lot. It's like the show is for me. Thank you so much. I'm taking it in. Let's go on a break. When we come back, we'll continue this conversation with Ella George Uduko. Stay with us. Welcome back. You're still listening to Shipreneur OBC When Africa Business Radio, and I still have my guests in the building telling us how we can develop superior strategies for business growth. I would like you to give us, I'm trying to, put a lot together. I would like you to give us some of the steps, practical steps that new businesses. So I'm focusing mainly on new businesses now because I realize that some of them don't even last a long time. So what are some of the things that we must put in place before we even kick off?
For a new business, it really is important to validate the idea, product, service that you have to offer the market.
Idea.
That's one of the first things that I put out there. Validate it. Because many times people get ideas, and I see this quite frequently. It's alarming. People just get the idea. Immediately they contact someone to create the logo. They're renting a store. They are, buying up inventory or producing and just getting everything set for a certain launch date when they can then open up to the world. But before all of that, no validation has taken place. You don't know that people really need this thing and are willing to pay for it. Because there are times when it's great and they want it, but they don't want to pay for it. Right?
Wow.
So validating that idea is really important. Start with, your circle, extend it to your neighborhood, talk to people anywhere, everywhere. What do you think about this? Is this something you would pay for? What problems do you have with your current solution? Because for everything you bring in, people already have alternatives.
Options, yeah.
Yes. So you want to make sure that they are not 100% happy with those alternatives. Because if they are, they're going to stay stuck. It's easier to just, do what you've been doing than to switch. So that's number one. And then number two, I think it's really important to have some form of marketing plan. How am I going to create awareness? How do I get people to even know that we exist? Because there are times when you come across businesses or entrepreneurs and they're doing great work. But it's like winking in the dark. Nobody really knows, or just a few people. Yes. So there's got to be a plan for how to increase awareness. Whether you want to do it through the traditional marketing methods or digital marketing. My dear, no one is cheap these days. But there's always something that you can do outside of just waiting for your family to buy and tell their friends.
And blackmailing your friends.
And blackmailing? Oh, Lord.
I've not blackmailed you. I have to.
So, it's important to have, some form of marketing plan. And then it's also good to think about the sales channels. How are people going to assess this thing that you have to give? Because if you only sell to your neighborhood, of course you are going to eventually have much less customers than somebody who sells in the neighborhood plus through a digital store, plus through some e-commerce platforms, plus through some affiliates or other resellers, So think about how customers will assess the product, because today's customers want things yesterday. Like they're paying for it now, but they want it yesterday.
I want it to my doorstep.
So, it's also important to think of these things, little changes that have caused, customers to become what they were not or demand what they did not used to demand. And so you've got to think of how to use technology to speed things up, make it more efficient, more convenient. There's this tool I usually recommend to anybody that I can, right? To anyone who's willing to listen. It's called a business model canvas. It's a one-page tool. One page. It's got 9 blocks, and if anybody...
Is it free?
It's free. You
Please
can find it
send to me
online.
now. Oh, okay.
Like, just check Business Model Canvas.
Okay.
You'll find it. One page.
Note
but
that
it
down.
is so
Business
powerful.
Model
It is so powerful because it would help you think through, what would I be doing differently? Who am I trying to reach? You know, what activities would I be performing? You know, who are the partners that I'm going to need to take this business, you know, off the ground and really do well? What's my cost going to be like? A lot of times we underestimate costs. People don't include, you know, their data costs, their phone calls, their transportation, and yet you think, you know,
Photography, to
there's
snap the product.
so many little things that we don't include, again, because most of us studied
English and literature.
and then just throw ourselves into it's like you know, buying a house or renting a house and all of a sudden you become the plumber.
How?
You know? Yeah, but that's what we do with business, and then insist that we will figure it out by ourselves.
We die.
We and Google.
We die.
So with that, it forces you to sit down and think things through, and in some cases, in the process of doing that, you figure this thing isn't going to work, or it's not going to work here, and it probably needs to be in another location, or it's not going to work at this time, and we probably need to defer it, right, or sell the idea
To somebody else who's willing to buy.
in another location.
Wow.
Yes. There's so many, like, somebody told me the other day she's relocating to Canada, and so she's looking to sell the business. Why are you looking to sell off your stuff? She's like, I don't know where to start.
Because what business is that?
She does scrubs.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Oh.
So with all the machines, inventory, and
wow.
why sell it.
Wow.
You've built this over a period. You have a name. Let's not divert anyway. But for business who's looking to start, please validate their idea. Make sure that people are willing to pay for this thing, and then get feedback from them on how you can improve, especially for services. How can you improve? How can you make it more valuable?
Yeah.
How can you make it worse? This cost that they're asking. Sometimes it's just to add one little thing that may not cost you a lot, but means a lot to the customer.
Yeah, I remember when we started the coaching. So after the training, we had to do 50 free sessions for people. So get the feedback, understand some of the things you need to change if there's a need and all that. That helps you. So when you're ready to start charging, you know that you're giving value for money. That's awesome.
Absolutely.
But is there a one-size-fits-all template that will work for businesses?
No.
Oh.
That was disappointing, right?
I'm disappointed.
I know. There's no one size fits all because we're all so different. There's something I tell people, you can have the very same product and service being sold by 10 different people, and yet for some reason you just gravitate to one person. Could be their color, could be the way they speak, could be their height, could be where they're from.
Could be their aura. Just
could
like
be their
this person
aura,
and I
yes.
want to buy from them.
Right. So, because we're all different, what we bring to our businesses are different. What will help businesses grow, honestly speaking, they're different. And this is the reason, despite the vast amount of information out there on how to grow,
not everybody's growing.
The overwhelming majority are struggling
to grow.
They know these things. They could take this mic right now and reel out what should be done. But oftentimes they're trying to do it all at the same time. Or they're trying to adopt someone else's strategy, someone else's tactics. And you are different. It just may not work for you. So it's really about sitting to figure, especially if you've had goes back to validation. If you have validated it and asked people, now imagine that through, let's use the example you just gave, right? So you just got out of a coaching training, school, and now you're having these 50 free sessions. Now, prior to the sessions, you thought, right? You could have thought, this is an example, right? So your thinking may have been, people are going to work with me because I'm empathetic, I'm a great listener, and da-da-da-da-da.
And they will just like me.
Yes. And then you have 50 free sessions, and for some reason decides to throw in a document at the end of the day to just keep them on track. And then you get feedback from 40, and 35 are telling you that what they loved the most was that they had something to hold on to.
left to your wisdom, you would have gone out there presenting yourself as this, but I'm such a great listener. I've been trained. I've got the techniques. I've got the this. I've got the that.
My ears are actually wider now than...
Nobody cared about that.
Wow.
Perhaps they expected it, or it just didn't make as much of an impact. But that little thing you added at the end was what they appreciated. So guess what? You now take that thing, and when you're going to market yourself, you're like, guess what? At the end of every, you get this. And this is going to make sure that this is, now you preach that, and other people are like, let's go.
That's what validation does.
And somebody else would now take that, oh wow, it's that thing they get at the end, that document, that's it, let's go. And nobody would read your document. Like, they just fold it like a flyer. You know those flyers they talk into our cars?
Wow.
So no, there's no, unfortunately, it's in the beginning, it really is, I don't want to call it trial and error, but to an extent, it is trial and error, because you've got to figure out what works for you. Right? So in my business, for instance, we found that a lot of times, beyond, whatever frameworks or whatever we were using, people just wanted to connect via audio, voice. And so the biggest clients that we've had, and it's always best the pool clients, the ones who just come to you because they saw something, it was some form of video marketing. And you would see another business somewhere.
I would come to you for your voice.
Who's doing, oh, thank you.
Yeah, I would.
So you'd see somebody else who's doing lots and lots of videos, great, like they've got this partner, videographer, fantastic, but
good editing and all
but
that.
It's only their white papers or articles on LinkedIn that get them move. So it's different.
I like that. So how do we solve the problem of our poor customer service in Nigeria? It's horrible.
Deep.
It's horrible. In a few words, please.
I try to be very optimistic, but there are times when I've got to be realistic. It's going to take a lot to change it on a grand scale, but I'm thankful that in the last few years there's been a lot more awareness and a lot more willingness to do better, especially on the part of smaller businesses, right? The truth is, for most businesses, their attention is always on getting new customers. And even though we have been screaming and shouting that it costs you a lot less to retain your existing customers, for some reason they don't hear. They
just want new customers.
New customers. Everyone is chasing new customers, right? But some are beginning to learn that this is about really deepening the relationship that you have with customers and, making them loyal to you. Because over the lifetime, there's this thing called customer lifetime value. It just makes a lot more sense, right? But till you come to the realization that it makes more sense to retain my customers than to keep chasing new ones, at least the percentage. Till you come to that realization, it's going to be hard to respond as your higher self, as the best version of yourself, both before, during customer service issues, and then afterwards. It's easier to just fall into human nature. I mean, from driving on the streets to your neighbor's dog with generator disturbing you, a lot of times we're tense. We are on the edge. And so customers get to feel that, for many people. So it has to be very, very intentional on the part of the business owner, because your staff will borrow from how you treat customers, right? Your staff will borrow from that, whether you like it or not. So it has to be intentional that my goal is to retain 80%
of my customers.
And when you have that at the back of your mind, the way you treat them through the entire process, right? It's different. The experience you design for them is different from somebody else who's just, let's just make sales. Let's just, let's just keep, so that's the thing. You've got to move from just transactions to building relationships, desire it, and then it would affect how you design the whole journey. How do we
ensure excellence in our businesses?
Okay. So for those who are, this thing about,
It's a habit.
So it's interesting how, I'm not going to put a percentage, but a good good number of businesses who have core values, have excellence in there, excellence, integrity, honesty. Those are the things that you see, and yet you look around the environment and it just excellence really is doing things well, and it's in the small things. It starts with the small things. It's not just till you have an opportunity to do a presentation that you can then exhibit excellence. It's in how you speak, how your office smells, how your toilets look, how you smell. Thank you, honey. It's in the really little things, and gosh. How do you show excellence in Nigeria? If it's not in you, it's hard to build.
Can you learn it?
Of course. Of course. If you surround yourself, if you can pick a few people who do things excellently and decide to model them in months, in a matter of weeks, you would start to change how you do things. You'll be careful before you open your mouth to speak. You'll look at yourself a second time to be sure that
you're looking okay.
You're looking the way you want to be addressed. You'll look at your environment from the customer's eyes. Step in. How do things look? Do we clean our window sills? Do you know why I went there?
Give me a clue. Personal experience. Something around you.
Because usually it's the floor, right? We just clean the floor and we move on. But I look at the window sills and girl,
you look at people's shoes too.
I do.
I know. Wow. It's a lot.
You notice I'm not going into even the business, the quality, because if you start from the small things, it spills. But if you do even let's assume you make certain products, it's produced in China, and you tell them, I want it to be, very high quality. For some reason, we don't do that. A lot of us
we don't. We want it cheap.
But yes, let's even say that's the case, and you put all of this effort into producing something that is quality, and you're trying to attract customers who value excellence. They will come in, and even before the product, they're going to judge everything else. How does your website look? How does your office look? Are your signboards turned down, all
upside down?
That is excellence. It's in those little things. And so even before they get to touch or experience the product or the service, there are these other clues, physical evidences that show us whether you truly have an excellent spirit or not. So that's where it starts. So for anyone who's desirous of that, my best advice is going to be find people who you can right now point and say they have an excellent spirit, and then watch what they're doing. If you have the opportunity to connect with them on a personal level, you'll learn a lot more. But even from observing on social media, there's a lot you can tell. You're not showing up for live sessions with your net or going into, this is excellence. No, we're breaking it down, Chi. Let's be real now.
Go ahead.
I host webinars, master classes, and people are showing up with singlets and hairnets and PJs, and your videos are on. That's, okay.
Oh my God.
Let's,
Wow.
Let's just leave this topic.
That's actually all we can take on this show. I will definitely bring you back. And when I bring you back, I don't think we'll be discussing business. We'll talk about life issues. You're quite interesting.
Thank you.
So thank you so much for being on the show. How can people reach you if they want any form of consultancy for their businesses?
Hillbridge Consulting, HILLBRIDGE. Hillbridge Consulting, that's our website. LinkedIn, Instagram.
I on Instagram, yeah.
Facebook,
okay.
Yes.
Same name, Hillbridge.
Yes, Hillbridge Consulting.
All right, thank you so much.
My name is Ella George.
Ella George Duku. And she speaks so well. And she's actually from Asaba. She's my sister. One name Kobo.
I know.
Thanks so much for having you on the show. Wish you all the best in your businesses. And I'm going to be your customer very soon.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's it on Shipreneur with BC on Africa Business Radio. If you have any suggestions on how the show can be better, send a DM to Africa Business Radio on Instagram or BC Ubo, BEECWEUGBOH, and we will get to it. Till I come your way again next time. Bye-bye.